Are you about to do a Dynasty Startup Draft? Are you looking at good values maybe in the trade market? Well, you've come to the right place, but wait, there's more. That sounds like an infomercial ad.
Wait.
But we are bringing you today the best values in a Dynasty Startup Draft.
That's
all
right.
Badake and I both, you know how the deal goes. We're going to bring you 2 players each and tell you why we think they are values. I'll go first.
Go for it.
My first startup value in a startup draft is Allen Robinson. All right, Badake and I have been in a lot of Dynasty Startup Drafts, real Dynasty Startup Drafts as of recent. So I took the last 3 Dynasty Drafts that we've done. That's
right.
Real drafts. And the average ADP for Allen Robinson in those was the 8-12. Okay, so the end of the 8th, beginning of the 9th, the 8-12. Players going around Allen Robinson at this point: Mike Williams, David Bell, Kadarius Toney, Chase Claypool, James Conner sometimes is there. Miles Sanders is more often there. And I think this is good return on a pick here at the 8-12. Firstly, I do believe that a top 12 to 15 finish is possible for Allen Robinson this year. Okay.
Right.
Let's look at every top 12 finish for Allen Robinson. All of them have one thing in common, and that is targets. All right. 2015, 2019, and 2020. You can see those seasons on your screen now. They all have one thing in common: target share. Okay. When he gets target share, he typically finishes as a top 12 wide receiver. Now, if we look at the target share for the Rams last year in that receiving core, you can see Cooper Kupp was dominating with 11.2 targets per game. Then you got Bobby Trees and OBJ, who are not returning to this team as of now. Now, OBJ could still return. It seems like they're happy to move on from him, but that's a possibility. But still, Robert Woods leaving this offense and Allen Robinson replacing him is huge, Badake. I mean, you said this from the get-go. It took me a while to get on board because I wasn't sure about where Bobby Trees would be. But now that he is officially gone, he's in Tennessee, this is huge opportunity for Allen Robinson. Woods and OBJ are gone. So let's look at what I think is a realistic target share for this wide receiver core next year. Cooper Kupp at 10.5, Allen Robinson at 8, and then Van at 6, Tyler Higbee at 5. So I bumped up Van's targets. I put Tyler Higbee's targets a little bit down. And then I also brought some slight regression for Cooper Kupp because it's hard to say that he's going to get 11.2 targets per game again. That is historic type numbers. So I think 8 targets per game is very realistic for Allen Robinson. And if he plays all 17 games, that's 136 targets on the year, which 100% could lead to a top 12 to 18 finish here in his first year in LA. And secondly, let's not forget that Allen Robinson has been dealing with bad quarterback play his entire life. I mean, his entire life. If you go through it, even college, he overcame bad quarterback play to get drafted, decently. In the pros, he overcame bad quarterback play. How about in Jacksonville? Blake Bortles, Chad Henne. How about in Chicago? Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles. So he has literally never played with a quarterback like Matthew Stafford. And, we saw Jared Goff make Cooper Kupp relevant here and there. But what did Stafford do for Kupp last year? Oh my goodness, that connection was something special. But when you get a highly talented quarterback with a highly talented wide receiver, the sky is the ceiling, right?
Exactly.
And, the last thing I would say, if anyone out there is a little bit worried about what I'm saying, is can we all agree, at least, Badake, that Allen Robinson is a more talented, he is a better overall wide receiver at this point of their careers than Bobby Trees? Can we agree?
100%.
Okay, despite the injuries, let's not forget who he was. And if that's the case, you shouldn't be worried about this take because last year, Robert Woods, weeks 1 to 9, before getting injured, was the wide receiver 12 in fantasy football. So he's got a 3-year contract there in LA. He's 28 years old. If he does put up a top 12 season, let's say he puts up a top 15 season, guys, what sort of value will he be next year? You're seeing a lot of guys who are 29, who are 30. Diggs isn't all that far off. He's going way higher in drafts. How about Amari Cooper? He's not that far off. How about DeAndre Hopkins before the suspension? So for me, if he does finish in the top 15, in top 15 this year, this is someone who next year could be going in the top 7 rounds of drafts. I don't think that's crazy. So I think his value could improve. If you're a futuristic team, sell him mid-season when he's dominating. Okay, still draft him. If you're a win now team, draft him and start him. I think it's a win-win scenario. So Love the contract. Love the quarterback that he's connected to. Love the talent. And finally, I think we're going to see what Allen Robinson can really do.
100%. I love it. I love Allen Robinson since
I'm so surprised that it's still cheap to get him as well.
It is very cheap. I think once we get closer and closer to the season, once we start hearing reports, I do believe Allen Robinson is going to skyrocket. I won't be surprised if we see him going, 6th round. And it may sound crazy, but that's where I'm seeing 6th, 5th round because it's too good of a value.
And I would say, just quickly, anyone who's worried about trading for him if you're a win-now team, I have him on a win-now team, and I'll tell you what, I've already got some pretty damn good trade offers, and we're not even in the season yet, so don't worry about that.
Exactly. All right, my first guy that I believe you should have good value is Adam Thielen. Okay, ADP, he's been averaging in our past 3 mock drafts around round 15. Round 15 for Adam Thielen. Players going around him: Darrell Henderson, Melvin Gordon, Miko Harmon, Roberto Woods, Tyler Boyd, Tyler Lockett, and then Russell Gage. Yeah, that's kind of the gauge of that round where people go around Adam Thielen. And why I believe in him, let's just really look back at the history and understanding of who Adam Thielen is and what he's been doing for the past 5 years. The past 5, since 2017, he has finished in the top 10 of wide receivers outside of the 2 years he's been hurt, which was 2019 and this past year in 2021. He was always averaging a top 12 finish. He was always in there. Whether that was with
since 2017? Since
2017, absolutely.
That's pretty impressive, to be honest. That's exactly.
And that's with, Kirk Cousins, with Justin Jefferson coming in, him being moved around. Once again, you take the 2019 and the 2020, where he was in 2021, he was in the top 10 before he got injured. In 2019, obviously he missed more games. He missed 6 games. But yeah, Adam Thielen somehow just becomes so, I guess, more and more, I'm scared. Justin Jefferson's there, unrelevant. Right. There's always some tension there because of that. Okay, let's go to 2021. Let's go to the year before, where right before he got injured, weeks 1 to 12, he was the wide receiver 7. Okay, wide receiver 7. This guy's going in the 15th round. Okay, he averaged 15.9 fantasy points per game, 7.5 targets per game. People were saying, oh, he's becoming touchdown dependent. People were saying Justin Jefferson's there. He's not getting looked at. My guy was getting 7.5 targets per game with Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, who's a pass catching back in this offense, and we're scared to draft Adam Thielen. I think this is crazy. And then a lot of people saying, well, he is touchdown dependent. Maybe he scored eight touchdowns.
But he scores touchdowns.
He does. He scored touchdowns.
That's what he does.
Exactly. So why not take a guy here in this round, in the 15th round, saying that can be a top 12 wide receiver? And I know the fantasy community, I can just see it in the comments. But what about Irv Smith? Irv Smith got hurt early in the season. Here on this channel, we're not Irv Smith believers. We can understand if maybe he takes a couple targets away, from Jefferson, from Thielen, maybe from Dalvin. But I'm not, I don't know about Zach, but I'm not truly scared of, Irv Smith taking so much work away from anyone on the field, to be completely honest. He probably still needs to get through that knee injury. It's probably still a mental break, but why not? This is such a tremendous value to get a top 12 guy in fantasy. Once again, averaging 15.5 points, 7.5 targets per game, who averages to be a top 12 wide receiver throughout every single year if he's not hurt. This is great value. This is a massive steal, in my opinion, to get him in the 15th round.
I agree. And the key word that Badake used was he can finish as a top 12 wide receiver. Because if you're sitting here saying it's not a possibility, we've already seen it be a possibility for multiple years. And even the stats that Badake brought for last year in 2021, when Justin Jefferson was shining. I mean, like Badake said, weeks 1 to 12, he was still wide receiver 7.
That's crazy.
Last thing I'll say is that I think this is a great take. And for me, if I'm a win now team, Adam Thielen is 100% my pick in the 15th round.
Yeah, it's a steal, 100%. And I think this is
good.
It's
a 15th round.
Bro, this is
a 15th round.
This is good for people that are doing futuristic teams, because you know what? If you're a little bit shaky on that rookie, get a solid dude in Adam Thielen just to ride you out for the year. See what happens, and then let that rookie develop.
All right, my last startup value, I mean, I got so many I could tell you, but for this video is Christian Kirk, Captain Kirk. His average ADP from our last 3 real Dynasty drafts, okay, with real people, I promise.
It's real.
I like selling it so hard. It's a real draft, is the 1006. And unfortunately, in most of those drafts, he was actually going around the 12th round, but someone decided to just change the ADP by drafting him a little bit early.
Right.
So I feel like
Was that
11th, 12th round is where he's going. No, it wasn't me. I
Okay.
actually drafted him in the 13th, the last draft that we did.
Okay.
But players going around Kirk, Ramondre Stevenson, Kareem Hunt, Michael Gallup, Jacoby Myers, Ronald Jones, Jared Goff, and Hunter Renfrow. Okay, so Kirk moves from Kyler Murray to Trevor Lawrence. Do you believe in Trevor Lawrence? I see some shades of progression this year. I see some things that I did like last year, and I also think we have to keep in mind, I keep saying this, but if your head coach, the biggest news of the year about your team was your head coach was twerking on a girl at a Chili's, that's a problem, okay? I do believe in Trevor's talent. I believe in what I saw last year as far as, he can progress into this talent that we all see. So let's talk about it. Urban Meyer's gone. Doug Peterson is in. I think that is one of the most underrated moves of this entire offseason. Doug Peterson, a guy who brought this Eagles team to a Super Bowl and, by the way, developed a quarterback in Carson Wentz into an MVP candidate. He demands respect because he has been there and he has done it. And you cannot thrive without leadership. Nothing in your life can thrive without leadership. The leadership, the structure in Jacksonville was completely shook last year. And now I almost view this as Trevor's rookie year. Genuinely. I view this as Trevor's rookie year.
Okay.
And an actual chance to get a real coach around him, a real staff to really believe in him. There was some good last year. Okay. Not a lot. But as far as for Christian Kirk's sake, last year, Trevor Lawrence had the 7th most pass attempts. That's good for Kirk's target share. The Jags had the 8th highest pace of play. That's good for Kirk's target share. And as far as like him impressing me, he was 4th in money throws, according to Player Profiler. A money throw is a pass that requires exceptional skill or athleticism in clutch moments. So even though everything was against him, still at times it was a flash in the pan, but you saw the talent, if you will. This is all good, but there was a lot of bad too. Okay, number one was the yards per attempt for Trevor Lawrence. It was last in the NFL. You can see why they desperately needed to sign a wide receiver like Kirk.
Right.
They were never going to get a big free agent, but Kirk was the perfect, I guess, fill-in for them, for their needs. And these next two really correlate together, Badake. So let's check this out. He had the 2nd most pressured throws in the NFL. Okay. He also had the most interceptable passes. Do these things potentially make sense?
Right.
So he's being pressured the 2nd most in the NFL on his throws, and he threw the 1st most interceptable passes. Maybe these two things can make a little bit of sense. So I do think adding Doug Peterson, adding Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, Brandon Sheriff, one of the best guards in the league, is going to be so helpful for this team. And Kirk, let's talk about him. He's stepping into a mountain of opportunities. Jags targets per game last year, Marvin Jones, Laviska really were the only guys that he could rely upon. I guess Jamal Agnew there for a little stint, but then he got injured. All of these wide receivers that you see on your screen, these will all be demoted, okay? Kirk will be the most targeted wide receiver on this team by a significant margin, in my opinion. I believe he's going to get 7.5 targets per game. So last year, Christian Kirk finished as a wide receiver 26. He was uber efficient, okay? He actually posted the 7th highest catch rate. Catch rate is, that divides receptions by total targets. So he was actually quite efficient, which is what this team needs. But for me, he steps into an offense where he is the guy. He's going to face harder competition on the outside with cornerbacks.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to get more targets. He's going to get less receptions. It won't be as efficient here in Jacksonville. But I still think a wide receiver 26 to 30 finish is possible.
Okay.
And we're talking about a guy who is only 25 years old, just signed a 4-year deal. So for me, how late I can get him, I think I'm not opposed to drafting him if I'm a futuristic team. I'm not opposed to drafting him if I'm a win now team. I think he can be a flex for both of those scenarios.
Yeah.
And, just purely based off of the target share alone, I really think a top 30 finish is locked in. And that's a valuable player next year. That's the 201 maybe. That's the 201 to the 204 that you could sell him for, if you don't want to keep him long term.
Yeah, Christian Kirk is so interesting. This Jags team is so interesting. It's so hard to, at least for me, to get a gauge because I just cannot trust this organization. I'm interested to see what happens, to be completely honest. I
Sure.
really am. All right, my last player here that I think is tremendous value in a dynasty startup is Brandon Cooks. I'm pretty sure Zach and I have probably preached this so many times, but we're here at it again. Our past 3 leagues, he's been averaging around the 11th round. This is real dynasty startups, real ones. Okay, he's been averaging the 11th round. Another good opportunity for a top wide receiver. Plays going around them. Clyde, terrible. Michael Thomas, old. Hunter Renfrow, dead. Singletary, dead. And Calvin Ridley, dead. You know, these are the people. Jacoby Myers, you know, Calvin Ridley, like I said, it's so hard. I would rather take Brandon Cooks every single day over each and every one of those players that are going around Brandon Cooks. I would take Brandon Cooks over each and every one of those players, excuse me. Yeah. So once again, same thing with Adam Thielen. Let's go back to the history, and I went even further back in 2015. Okay, since 2015 to 2021, if you take all those years together and average those targets that Brandon Cook was getting, he was getting 121 targets per season. He's been up there every single year. Okay, and I know everyone's saying, well, you know what really hurt me, because when I really looked at this, I was like, 2019. That was the year I drafted Brandon Cooks. That was the year the Rams was the super team where, you know,
Bobby Trees, Brandon Cooks.
Exactly,
Cooper
Bobby
Kupp.
Trees, Cooper Kupp. And then that was years like, you know, everyone, Brandon Cooks is such good value. Go get him. He's gonna break out. Then he gets hurt, you know. That was the year. If we just take that year out, because really that was the outlier year. Let's be completely honest. That was the only year he didn't finish in the top 20 as a wide receiver since 2015. Mind you, since 2015, the only year he did not finish in the top 20 was in 2019 when he got hurt. Once again, averaging 121 targets per season. He was consistently being a top 20. If you really average all those years out, he was averaging to being a top 16 wide receiver for the past 7 years. Once again, averaging all those games and all those points. Every single year, he was averaging 17.6 points per game since 2015, which I believe is absolutely crazy. This is consistency. Yeah. You want some value and consistency? This is Brandon Cooks. This is a guy that is a steal in drafts, in my opinion. A guy that people like me don't. I was the guy. Brandon. Zach used to say, "Man, Brandon Cooks such good value." I always say, "I just can't trust him." I literally said that. I just can't trust him. And that was because
I was like, bro, we've been trusting him for years.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, that's because the 2019, that hurt me. That was the first time I drafted Brandon Cooks, and I was like, I can't do it no more.
Hey, players leave scars.
Exactly.
Players leave scars.
So in a dynasty startup, why not take Brandon Cooks in the 11th round? Obviously, there's little hype with Davis Mills. They drafted John Mechie that maybe can open up the field for him just a little bit more. And
there's room for both.
Exactly. And don't sleep on Davis Mills. We are all as excited for Davis Mills to really compete and be this guy. We hope that he is. And even if he's not, Brandon Cooks signed a 2-year extension, whether that is a new quarterback next year, whether that is one of these free agent quarterbacks coming in that could be available in after 2023. Brandon Cooks has always been consistent. Once again, top 20 wide receiver, averaging 17.6 points per game throughout 7 seasons. This is a steal, in my opinion. I think you should get Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I like it. And, you know, Brandon Cooks been a conversation amongst the trade rumors quite often. Then he signed that extension. But to be honest, I mean, if he does get traded, probably is to a team that needs him. So more efficiency, maybe less targets. But I think still he's a wide receiver that contract isn't immovable. It's not an immovable contract. So I think he becomes good value. We did all wide receivers here. I just realized that.
That's okay. Maybe we'll do one that's all running back.
By the way, running back values, Zeke is going really late. So if anyone's I draft. Did you see me draft him?
You did draft him, and I actually
10th round.
I actually almost did Zeke over Brandon Cooks, but I was like, you know what? I'll do Brandon Cooks because maybe we should.
I almost did Zeke as well, just because I think the narrative's gone so far the other way. Like I got him in the 10th round.
Yeah.
For me, if you're looking for running back values, I'll just quickly say Zeke, Miles Sanders feel like really good values because I mean you have to wait. You don't have to get them high at all. They're super low in drafts. So anyway, comment down below. Let us know what your favorite startup drafts values are.
Yo, what's good?
What
Thanks
up?
for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch
Now,
it.
You can also subscribe
Right now.
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.